Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke, not the second richest man in the world.
Thank you for clarifying, but that's a nice lead-in.
I mean, I just wanted to, make sure people didn't realize. I mean, I know we make some sweet podcast money, but I am not the second richest man in the world. The person we're speaking about is...
Who is he?
Chili Billy Gates.
Chili Billy Henry Gates.
Actually,
Born.
William, I believe.
Billiam, actually, which is common misconception that he's actually a William. It is Billiam, in fact. October 28th, 1955 in sunny Seattle, Washington.
He kind of stayed close to home his whole life, didn't he?
That's interesting, isn't it? Do you have any of his background? Do you want me to run through this?
You can start running. I got a little bit. We can bounce back and forth.
So he had a tough upbringing. His dad, Billy Gates Sr., was a lawyer, and his mom, Mary, was an executive and served on the board of directors at First Interstate Bank System.
But he had it hard. You were joking.
Yes, that was a joke.
Yeah. So I think it's The Economist or maybe The New Yorker. They do this list of richest people in the world, and they give a self-starter score. Like if you started from nothing, you get like a 10 because like you were like on the streets.
You were hard up.
He only got like a 5, I guess, because his parents were really well off. He went to private schools. He had access to, so he's not this like rags to riches, I was a pauper living on the streets story. He had it pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. It sounded that way. He had an older sister. He might have one, I don't know. Christy, and a younger sister, Libby. Hate the name Libby.
Really?
Poor Libby Gates. Libby. I don't know. I don't like it.
Wow, that's
Anyways, fun fact. This took me about 18 reads to even try and understand it. He is the fourth of his name in his family, but is known as William Gates III or Trey because his father had the second suffix. That makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
No, but, what can you do? So he's the fourth, but not really somehow. So no matter where I looked, it really seemed like nothing happened in old Bill Gates' life until he was about 13. Did you get kind of that same feeling?
Yeah, so his parents wanted him to be a lawyer, I think, is what they were planning.
That sounds terrible.
And that does sound terrible. And I think what happened was he ended up getting involved with programming.
No.
with programming and computers and like the very, very early on computer stuff. And I think that's where his imagination was sparked.
Imagination. For all my SpongeBob fans out there. I have a little bit about that when he was 13 computer stuff. So at 13, he attended the private Lakeside School. So again, hard up, off the mean streets of Seattle. It was here that Gates had his first introduction to computers, where he taught himself BASIC and made a quick tic-tac-toe game, which is still, harder than it might sound. So he enjoyed the process of working with computers and arranged with a company, CCC, the Computer Center Corporation, to spend time on their computers, learning source code and Fortran and machine code and Lisp, whatever that might be. So it must be some sort of language, right?
This is also where he met a good friend of the show, Paulie Allen.
Paulie Allen, that's right. So it's kind of funny. 4 students got banned from using the machines at CCC because they were caught exploiting bugs in the operating system to obtain free computer time.
Yeah, because apparently back in the day, access to a computer was like you had to get in line, and it was super difficult, and apparently, I guess, the computer itself monitored kind of what it was doing. So
2 students as well as Bill Gates and Paul Allen. So they were bros way back then.
Way back.
So that's kind of interesting. So at the end of the ban, the 4 students offered to find bugs in CCC's software in exchange for extra time on the computers. How funny is that? That they're like, hey, little kids, sure, go ahead and do that.
Could you imagine being like the program manager at that company, and you got a bunch of 14-year-olds working for you, like showing you up? That'd be pretty tough.
Do you know how to code?
James, I was hoping you weren't going to ask that question.
Really?
Because I don't even have the concept of coding. Like, I literally think computers
they're magic.
And like us recording right now, there's software that is actually doing this. I think it's totally magic because I have no concept of coding. Zero.
Interesting.
What about you?
So probably not
don't
anymore.
Lie. Yeah, don't lie.
So in high school, I had 2 classes on coding, and it was in like Pascal or something
Okay.
like that. So something no one uses anymore, as far as I know. And then in college, I started out as going for computer engineering.
Oh, thank
And
goodness you didn't.
yeah, it turns out that you need to code a lot there. And I took my first C++ class, and I was about halfway through, and I was like, well, changing majors, because this is the
Yeah.
worst thing ever.
So so I do not know how to code at all. Thanks for pointing that out for our listeners.
Just another fatal flaw that you have, right? So in 1973, this is the next big thing I saw that happened to him, is that he enrolled into the lowly school of Harvard.
Harvard.
Because, again, had it tough.
He went in for law initially. Did you know that?
Oh, I saw that he studied mathematics and computer science.
Well,
Or is that after he said
no. He
law?
went in for law, and then he did mathematics and science at the same time because he had such an interest in it. So it was like if you're gonna do a double major.
What do you
maybe.
even do for law? Because, I mean, you don't go to be a lawyer in undergrad. You go to be something, and then you go to law
I
school.
think if you go for law, it's like about being pretentious and.
All lawyers are pretentious.
We just lost
for
all of
sure.
our lawyers.
We actually do have a lawyer listenership, so
Yeah, but
we'll
she
see
has
what
to
they
listen.
have to say. No, not that one. She don't listen at all. Okay, so went in there. Gates remained in contact with his boy, Paul Allen, right? And he joined him at Honeywell during the summer of 1974.
So Harvard, Honeywell, summer internship.
Struggle. The struggle is
The struggle
real.
is real for
So,
Bill.
the new computer came out, and it was based on the Intel 8080 CPU. And I believe this is actually something that was big in the computer or the video game cartridge design. If I remember correctly from our video game console evolution research, check out that episode. It's a really good one. Jerry Lawson used this Intel 8080 to start making a cartridge so that you can swap the video games out instead of having it all in the system.
Interesting.
I think. That could be completely
You
wrong.
could be completely wrong because I thought it all started with the Altair 8800 computer, and maybe that's the same computer. Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe I'm referring to the same thing.
Yeah. So I think it's a CPU versus the computer, right?
Oh, I gotcha.
So, anyways, Gates and Allen were like, hey, this thing's pretty sweet. Maybe we should start our own computer software company. What do you think?
I'm out of Harvard. Yeah. So basically,
Seriously?
yeah. So they're like, you know what, Harvard. Let's go start a company in a garage, and they chose the garage.
Just like every successful person we've talked about,
I feel
honestly.
if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't even go to grade school. Because think about how successful all
if
these
you dropped out of kindergarten, you would just like run the world, probably.
the less education, all this proves is the less educated you are, the more successful you are.
Let's take that to heart, children.
Kids, quit school now. Sorry,
You'll thank us later. Is that right?
Parents all over shutting us off right now.
Yeah,
No,
seriously.
We jest. That's a joke. Of
Was
course.
that a joke?
Yeah, education's amazing for you kids. Stay in school. Don't do drugs.
Fun fact,
Shoot.
before we take a quick break, while at Harvard, he met fellow student Steve Ballmer. So he left Harvard after 2 years while Ballmer stayed and graduated super high, magna cum laude. I think that means you're smart, right? Years later, Ballmer succeeded Gates as Microsoft's CEO. So he like forms these relationships and stays really tight. So that's what I did wrong in life is I never met anyone successful so that I could just ride their coattails
Whoa.
other than you.
What do you call us?
That's a good
I'm the
point.
co-host of the best podcast in Pittsburgh.
Eh.
Best engineering podcast in Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's better.
Recorded from my home.
Okay. Exactly. Nailed it. So he maintained that position until 2000 until he resigned from the company in 2014.
Interesting.
Yeah. So before we go on, and I'm probably going to just dive into Microsoft after that if you're okay.
Yep.
Let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
I have to assume it's got to be Microsoft.
It is not, in fact, Microsoft, but it is not even any shout-outs.
None.
Hurtful. You know, I blew them all in the last episode.
Why'd you do
so,
that?
well, I'm not very smart. So let's just do an extended. If you want to get a shout out in an episode, suggest something we should research,
Send us an email.
Send us an email. We could hook you up with some sweet stickers.
Reviews.
Oh man, subscribe on
Likes,
iTunes or wherever.
shares.
Reviews.
Send it to your grandma. Get her as a listener.
I don't care who listens. Grandmas can.
No, the grandmas can definitely
Yeah.
listen.
Email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. We'll hook you up with sweet stickers.
And I
What
said
else
the-
could someone want?
I know, and I said something to I think think earlier in one of our other podcasts, if you want us to represent you,
Are you begging again?
I am begging again because I love free stuff. I love tchotchke, right?
Yeah.
If you got a sweet hat for us, I'd wear a hat.
Man, I'd wear a hat right now.
You love because your hair's. You need a haircut.
I do need a haircut. You're right.
You got a sweet T-shirt or shirt or some swag that you want to share with us? Just send it our way. And
I feel like Pepsi and Nickelodeon, or whoever owns Nickelodeon, should be paying us big money for these T-shirts we're sporting.
I know. I got doing the do on.
Yeah.
So yes, send us some gear.
Send us free stuff.
We'll give you some props. We'll represent.
Give you a shout out for a T-shirt.
Of course.
Done. All right, let's move on to a little bit about the small company known as Microsoft.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's nice that they do well.
They struggle. So tell me about Microsoft.
Yeah. So we said he left after 2 years. So on November 26th, 1976, 1 year after my birth, the trademark name of Microsoft was official. So and it had a hyphen in it because it was a combination of I forget what the combination was.
I don't remember either.
It was something in software like microprocessing. So it was this idea
That
of the combination of machines and software coming together. So it was official then. They launched MS-DOS, which I actually had DOS on a computer at one point at home. Did you ever use DOS?
I did, yeah. I didn't like DOS. It felt confusing to me.
Yeah.
But there was like some big thing about that where they started working with IBM, and that's kind of how they got their hookup.
They licensed their what's it called? Software.
Operating system.
Operating system.
Yeah. So IBM basically hooked up with Microsoft for their operating system, and they worked. Microsoft worked to get on everybody else's computers as well, and this kind of gave them this leg up to really just take over the market there. But IBM first proposed that Microsoft write this basic interpreter for them, and Microsoft was like, no, we don't like that. But when IBM went and met with the people that Gates referred them to, Digital Research, it didn't go real well. And like, long story short, they proposed that they use the 86-DOS as the operating system, and Microsoft made a deal to become the exclusive licensing agent. And, all of a sudden, MS-DOS showed up. I don't know if you have any more details about that, but this became like the dominant operating system on all things.
And I think Microsoft is still super dominant. And so 1980, DOS launches. 5 years later, the very first version of Microsoft Windows, so on November 20th, 1985. And remember I was talking about in the video game episode, my neighbor that got everything that I was jealous of?
Yes.
He got
I do remember that.
Microsoft Windows computer like that day.
Really?
Yeah, you know who you are.
Spoiled.
Yeah,
he was.
Him. I know.
He had it tough like Bill.
He did have it tough like Bill. So that was in 1985, and then basically that ushered in, all these different versions of Microsoft Windows and XP and 10 and whatever. I don't even know what we're using now. I
don't either.
So I remember probably 15 years ago, I could actually install an operating. Like, I remember installing operating systems on computers at work and doing anything. Nowadays,
Work's really dumbed it down for us since we're not even allowed to.
Yeah.
Do you remember, was it Vista? Was that the terrible one?
Vista
that
was
everyone
terrible.
hated, and ME wasn't super good.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, I think my first Microsoft Windows was, a 3.1 or something like that.
Right.
And then I remember 95 and 98. I think I'm on Windows 10. Is that a thing?
I think 10 is what we're on right now.
I think that's what I'm on. But what do I know?
I mean, I'm probably on 12 'cause I'm better than you.
True.
But
I really dislike how much they changed it. I felt like they did things real nicely, and now they hide all my buttons on me, and I don't like it. Like control, I feel old just saying it, but I'm like, I have to type in Control Panel to try and find it. It's the worst. Okay, did you see in 86 something big happened, and that's when Bill Gates was like, you know what we should do? We should make a lot of money and make Microsoft public. Yeah. That's the voice he used when he said it.
His voice sounds nothing like that, but okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
When's the last time you heard him talk?
About 45 minutes ago, and I was watching a video with him.
Okay. So it made an initial IPO So the public offering of $21 per share. And this made him an instant millionaire at the ripe old age of 31.
Do you know what he's worth now?
I don't know what he's
He
worth
is
now.
worth second richest person in the world, $98.3 billion with a B U.S. dollars, and this is as of 2019, which is bananas.
That is crazy. Who's ahead of him? Oh, Amazon. Amazon King.
Yeah, good old. But I don't think
These are Beelzebub.
Yeah, Beelzebub's not gonna. Amazon's owner. He can't be there long with his whole divorce.
He doesn't
thing.
have a prenup.
He
better.
I'm sure.
My
I don't know.
goodness.
He's not going to be there long, is my guess.
Okay. Well, Gates at the time held 45% of the company's 24.7 million shares, so that made his stake 234 million of Microsoft's 520 million value.
Fun fact: you know how much he owns now?
Very little, like almost nothing.
It's like less than 1% that he owns now.
He divested hardcore and reinvested in all sorts of other stocks and whatnot. He must have had a good financial planner.
They gave he and his wife, and we'll talk about the foundation a little bit later, but he basically gave almost all of his stake in Microsoft went to his foundation, which basically gives just tons and tons of money away to
How do we
people
get
that
them to sponsor us? I'm in need of a sponsor.
We'll talk after this. I don't think you understand like need versus want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Microsoft just a smidge more here. So you talked about DOS and Windows launching and whatnot. And then in, I think it was 1990, the first version of Windows that used a graphical interface instead of text interface came out. And it was the bestseller and was able to capture basically all of the operating system market. But fun fact, the success of Microsoft in cornering various aspects of software has led to a whole bunch of antitrust cases.
1989, yeah, 1989.
You're doing the whole whoop again.
Yeah.
What's the number? What's it called? Dyslexia?
1998.
There we go.
1998.
There we go.
Sorry, wow. 1998.
Don't worry.
Thank you. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit for an unlawful monopoly. And they proposed unsuccessfully that they were going to break up Microsoft into tons of different organizations. Well, I mean,
three big ones, and then yeah.
And basically, I think they were like, we live in a capitalist society. Just because I make money and we make good stuff and people want it, I mean, I'm going to be punished for that. So it ended up going nowhere. But fun fact about the interview, I mean, he was ridiculed for his
interview.
So he had to testify before Congress. So basically, Bill isn't probably the best public speaker.
Okay.
And
unlike us.
Yeah. I mean, you and I are the best. But,
so he's third, maybe.
But apparently, he used the term like "I don't recollect" something like 47 times.
It was like a drinking game.
Yeah, it was crazy. So apparently, he was ridiculed for it. And I watched a short snippet of the actual video of it, and it's pretty funny. Like he just avoided every single question.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what happens. Isn't that kind of what happened with Facebook guy when he was
anybody that's successful? When you make a ton of money, they're going to come after you.
So, June 15th, 2006, William Gates announced that over the next 2 years, he would transition out of his day-to-day role, which even when he started, he was super involved, like looking at every line of code, even doing some of the packaging. He was still super involved at that point as well. I mean, not to that extent.
Yeah.
But he was going to quit doing the whole Microsoft thing and dedicate his time to philanthropy. And he divided his responsibilities between two folks. One was Ray Ozzie, in charge of the day-to-day management, and he stepped down in 2010.
And Craigery.
And yeah, Craigery Mundy, right?
I don't know why I called him Craigery.
I liked that. And he was in charge of the long-term product strategy. And I think he's still there.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything
I'm pretty sure
he wasn't.
It's hard to believe that he hasn't been the CEO for 19 years.
For a long
since
time.
2000.
Is that what it was? 2000?
Yeah, when he stepped down,
That's crazy.
He was still the chief architect at the
I
time,
see.
but he wasn't running the company.
That's crazy. You're right. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
I hope to have that issue someday.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to get there. I need to find a rich friend again, but still. All right. So, do you have anything else to talk about, either Bill's history or Microsoft or anything like that before we take another break?
No, I think we're good. We can go right into the break.
All right, so let's hear it for this week's Luke's Rant.
So this has got to be. I mean, this is an easy one. It's low hanging fruit. It's a low hanging apple. Pun intended. Pun intended.
I see what you did.
So I've had nothing but heartache with my personal computer when it comes to like the operating system and viruses and my daughter's using a computer, my wife uses a computer, I use the computer, and I have so many issues with the Microsoft operating system from a security standpoint. And I think it's pretty widely known that there's a huge security threat there. And Apple somehow avoids all of this. Now, granted, their system is totally different for how they let people in and how they interface, and it's much more clamped down. But I mean, we were just talking about how they created like atomic bombs in like 5 years, and it only took them 5 years to go from nothing to a bomb. How come they can't make something like an operating system like so secure that there's like zero chance? Like all of these things that are happening, and I grant there's a lot of smart people that are bad that are doing this, so maybe they're just smarter than Bill and Microsoft, but I just don't know how they can't make computers more secure, how they can't make computers. It's all about security for me because I've had such issues with that.
Let me pile on and say, you're right. Get with it, Microsoft. Why do I have to get phone calls from my old parents all the time being like, I got this pop-up that said you need to call this number and give me all your money, and your money has to either be a money transfer or give me cash or something because your check's not any good here. Or
a phone card.
Yeah, like it just, or your credit card because then you could cancel it. Make it safe. I'm tired of talking to my parents about how dumb they are.
And it's not just Microsoft.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about any of these problems on an Apple platform.
Yeah, like viruses don't exist on Apple. That's
which
weird.
is amazing to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So
either.
I think they need to just step up and just do a better job at it and care
Agreed.
more about security and making our lives easier.
Done. All right, so let's move on. Did you see that Billiam and Stevie Jobs worked together on a number of things, and the companies kind of collaborated back in the day?
I do remember that. There was a
Apparently they were
Mac.
rivals.
There was a Mac that ran Windows.
Interesting.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure either that it was the other way around or there was.
Do you think Bill Gates? No, this is not nice. I'm gonna just move on.
Yeah,
Let's
nice.
move on to the foundation. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
He got a 1590 on the SATs?
Yeah. I got some fun facts about just Bill generally. So,
Holy
fact,
cow.
in 1972, Chilly Billy Gates served as a congressional page for the House of Representatives. So he was kind of connected with government. He got a 1590 out of 1600.
I was close to that, so.
Minus the one.
Did you even take the SATs?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I may have.
Okay.
I don't recall if I did. So he got a 1590 on the SATs. So he left Harvard after 2 years. What else do I got? Yeah. So a couple quotes from Bill that I think are fun
like
quotes. I've paid over $6 billion. That hurts to say out loud. $6 billion in taxes.
That's rough. I mean, we're close to that with our podcast cash, but
minus like all of it.
Billion.
Yeah. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of
That's
learning.
lame.
No.
Next.
What? I like that one.
Life's not fair. Get used to it.
Oh, wow. That's a James Herzing quote, I think.
That was him.
Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose.
Ooh, I like that
is a
one,
good
though.
one. That's a
Yeah.
very good one. Life's not fair. Get used to it. You just said it. It's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure.
I like that.
Then
I like this one. Television is not real life. In real life, people actually have to leave the coffee shop and go to jobs.
hipsters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I wouldn't want to call anyone
Probably
out, but
my most favorite, but this is unusual, is if you can't make it good, at least make it look good. That doesn't sound like a quote from Chilly
that
Billy.
does sound like Windows.
Yeah, it sounds shady.
Yeah, it does.
So
Speaking of shady, have you heard of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation?
I haven't, James. Would you please let me know more about it?
Actually, the world's wealthiest charitable foundation.
Yeah, they
Assets reportedly at $34.6 billion with a B dollars right now. That's crazy.
He and his wife,
That's a lot of monies.
they are listed as the most giving people in the world right now.
They're pretty okay people, it seems. So
Yeah.
from 2008, Gates, I know someone's going to email and be like, they're actually bad people, and here's why.
I'm sure.
But based off of my research, this sounds like they're pretty okay. His children maybe don't agree as much. But from 2008, Gates had worked full-time on his philanthropic interests. So it's estimated that they've given away about $28 billion via their charitable foundation, and this has included $8 billion to improve global health. So, I mean, I don't know what that is, like those nets to keep mosquitoes away and stuff.
I remember whenever he first started the foundation, there was a big push. It was about malaria, and it was this. And this is when he first left Microsoft, I think, or the foundation started. And apparently, I forget what number it was, but basically, malaria can be treated with a super easy vaccine, from what I understand.
Oh,
and
okay.
apparently, they just bought like truckloads of this
All
stuff.
the vaccine.
Yeah, they bought it all and basically
Filled the
vaccinated,
Nile with it and just swam in there.
and basically vaccinated a country. But I do remember when that happened, and most of their stuff initially revolved around health and wellness of underdeveloped countries, clean water, access to health care, and just recently. I don't know, maybe the last 5-6 years, he's getting like alternative energy and all sorts of other fields.
Yeah, I have a bunch of info on some of these different activities. So, did you also see, before we get into the activities, that he also gets other super rich people looped into this thing too? So, Warren Buffett has given away $17 billion through the Gates Foundation.
They also own Berkshire Hathaway together.
Well,
And Berkshire Hathaway, I believe, is the largest real estate development. I forget the statistic, but those two
They're
work
big.
together on Berkshire Hathaway.
Gates does?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's in on that.
Oh, he's in on that.
But if he's getting our boy Warren Buffett, friend of the show, to help donate some of his money.
Well, it's weird to me because Gatesy and Buffett are both of the same mindset that they're going to only leave a very small percentage of their wealth to their children.
Yeah.
So little Jennifer, born in 96, so younger than me, Rory and Phoebe. Phoebe's 17 now? Boy, they grow up so fast. They're all probably hating him.
Yeah.
But then again, what is a small percentage? You only get $1 billion each,
Yeah.
or what the case may be. But anyways, the couple plans to eventually donate 95% of their wealth to the charity over time. That's crazy.
I mean, I agree with
and
that.
Buffett's doing the same thing. He's getting rid of all
I
of his
totally
wealth.
agree with that because, I mean, think about it. I mean, I don't want my daughter to be this entitled person that's just going to have things given to her because we all know those people. Yeah, it'd be nice to have $1 billion in my back pocket from my dad.
But I mean, if they're keeping 5% of their wealth, these
Oh.
kids are still getting billions of dollars.
Yeah, they're
So-
not going to be wanting for anything.
Right. But I see what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
better than giving them, $30 billion, I guess.
Yeah, because
Maybe. I don't know.
And
Maybe
again,
at that point.
a perfect example is the Kardashians, and I'm sure we're going to lose all our Kardashian kids.
No.
None-
Kylie.
I mean, none of them. They basically had their money given to them.
Guess she's a
and,
Jenner.
and look at what it's a circus.
I don't know. Some of them have earned it in different ways, but let's not get into that right now.
Sorry.
So some of his main areas of interest in being a good person are improving health, in particular helping reduce disease, a lot to do with polio, which affects young children, and that's no good,
The fact
right?
that polio still exists.
Isn't that
w-
something?
When I read that, I was like, polio hasn't existed in the United States since like my parents were kids.
Right? Yeah,
It's
they got
crazy.
shots and
It's
then-
crazy that people still have to deal with polio in the
Yeah.
world.
So it focuses a lot on environmental issues as well. In 2015, he gave $1 billion to a clean energy project, like you mentioned, that was supporting greener technologies to help with global warming. He's done a lot of stuff with with more medical stuff. So $50 million of his money for dementia, and he also did another $50 million towards a startup working for Alzheimer's research.
Wow.
So all sorts of medical stuff. But the thing that I thought, I think is kind of good, but maybe a little selfish.
Okay.
I don't know. I would do it too. Getting buildings named after him.
Yeah.
He's donated $20 million to our friends at Carnegie Mellon University here in Pittsburgh.
We got a Bill Gates building here
the
in
Gates
Pittsburgh.
Center for Computer Science. He's also provided personal donations to, in 1999, he donated $20 million to MIT. So he's getting all the big hitters for the William H. Gates building, which is, again, a computer laboratory. He donated $6 million, just a measly $6 million was all it took to get a Gates Computer Science building at Stanford, but this was back in 1996. So he's just like gathering up all of the schools and buying them giant computer labs, which is great, I suppose, right? But at the same time, he's also working on making some super cool things like smart cities, which exists outside of Phoenix, Arizona, apparently. So the proposed city name is Belmont, which I think he must get after Castlevania, but that's cool. And will create a forward-thinking community with the communication and infrastructure spine to embrace cutting-edge technology, design around high-speed digital networks, data centers, new manufacturing, autonomous vehicles, and so on. So I wonder if that's, because I mean, I've heard of this city before. I wonder if Uber and whatnot work there as well, and Google driving around, if they all play nicely in this.
I imagine they do.
This center,
right?
I would think so. So that's a lot of what's going on. What do you think?
Fun fact.
Uh-oh.
And this is his thoughts on AI and artificial intelligence. Those of you not in the know,
check out our episode on AI if you haven't already.
I didn't even plan that.
Yeah,
Look
nice.
at how we did that. So he is cautiously optimistic about it. I watched a clip of an interview that he did, and he, like most people that are relevant in this space, they all think it has, huge promises for, everything from, research to medicine to just all kinds of areas. But it's also something they got to kind of watch so we don't go all Terminator T-1000 on us.
We've actually interviewed some folks that are in the AI field developing robots and robot intelligence
Roboy.
that said,
the folks at
Roboy, who said, we might want to talk about this.
Yeah, so he's riding the fence on this one. He's not saying it's a great thing. My guess is it's
He'll
like
be
some
dead
kind of
before
oversight.
it happens.
Yeah, I think most of us will be before it becomes a big deal.
Not me, but I'm going to live forever. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fun fact: he actually didn't know he really made it in life until 2018, when he got the great honor of being a guest star on an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
I did see that one.
Yeah. So maybe that's not when he knew he made it. I made that part up, but he was on The Big Bang Theory.
He actually did. He actually did. Did you ever see the commercial he did with Jerry Seinfeld, where they were buying tennis shoes?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he did 2 commercials with Jerry Seinfeld. One, they were like living in a house, like acting like normal people,
like normal people,
which was weird. And the other one, they were buying tennis shoes.
Think about how much money Jerry Seinfeld has and how much poorer he is than Bill Gates. He's basically broke compared to Bill Gates.
Broke.
Interesting. Broke. Yeah. Anyways, that's everything there is to know about Bill Gates. Hopefully he doesn't do anything else with his life so that, we don't ever have to update this.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah, he's probably
63.
63, that's it? Ooh, he's a youngster.
He actually has a lot more time.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully everybody else learned something about this and enjoyed the history of Bill Gates and what a nice guy he is for giving his money away.
Yeah.
Well, until next time.
See ya.